Hey there, Heretic. I'm Rishi Kular, Head of Product, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Send to Field feature in Heretic. Send to Field is a way to select text in a document and quickly send it to a field. And while that sounds simple, there are a lot of nuances to this that require a thoughtful approach on our end and that are just helpful to know. And that's what I'm going to cover today. First, I want to show you how you can use Send to Field to easily populate these party fields and this effective date field. I'll start with the parties. Simply select the text, let go, click the Send to Field button, and then just click the field that I'd like to populate. I'll do that for my second party, and then click the field. Now if it's a data point that Heretic has already identified, in this case the effective date, I don't even need to select the text. All I need to do is right-click, and then Send to Field. And for this date, it's important to note that though it says 1st day of January 2018 in the contract, we've actually normalized this to January 1, 2018 when you send a field, because this is a date field. And so what we've done is we've actually selected the correct date behind the scenes. So it's comforting to know that no matter how a date is expressed in a document, Heretic will not only find it, but when you send it to a field, Heretic will properly normalize it as well. Pretty cool. So now I'm going to save those coding decisions. And what's really powerful here is that I can always reference these fields by this green dot, and I can click on the field to navigate to where in the contract that coding decision was made. And this is really powerful on the QC side, so that a QC reviewer can always see where a first-pass reviewer has made a decision. So this was how you can use Send to Field to populate date fields and fixed-length text fields, which is what the parties were. But now I want to show you how you can use Send to Field to populate yes, no, single choice, multiple choice, and long text fields. In this case, I'd like to know whether this document has force majeure triggers, a yes-no field, what those force majeure triggers are, a multiple choice field, what we need to do in document assembly, a single choice field, and then I'd like to capture all references to force majeure language, a long text field. So, going top down, I first want to answer whether or not this contract has force majeure triggers. In this case, it clearly does, so I'm going to select text, send to field, and select yes. Similarly, for my triggers themselves, I'm going to select text, send to field, and tick off the choices that are relevant. Next, for what to do with document assembly, I just wanted to note that we don't require that you send a field in order to code a document. You could also just select a choice. We just won't maintain the location. In this case, we do want to generate a notice letter to the opposing party, so I'll select notice letter generation. And for the final field, we want to consolidate all occurrences of force majeure language throughout this contract into this one long text field. For this, I'm going to open up my handy force majeure references data point, expand this left pane, and I'll see that it looks like force majeure language is occurring in the acceptance section, term termination renewal, and force majeure. So I'll navigate to the first instance, and I will select text, send a field, and click this long text field. Now I'll navigate to the term termination renewal section, select text, send a field, click it, and here I'll get an existing value options modal where I can either choose to append what's already in that field, where the text will go after, prepend if I want the text to go before, or replace. In this case, I'd like to append. Next, I'll navigate to the force majeure section itself, and here I will select all of this text. And again, I'll append. Now I'll simply save those coding decisions. And since I've used Send to Field, I can click on the field to navigate to where in the contract that decision was made for all instances of Send to Field. I didn't send a field for document assembly, so the location in the contract is not maintained. But if I hover over this all force majeure language field, I'll see that this field has 3 different highlights in this helpful tooltip. And if I click the field multiple times, I can cycle through every instance of that language. Now, for those of you who are not new to document review, you may be thinking, Rishi, come on man, this extracted text looks beautiful. I know that it's not always going to be so high quality. Can I send a field from the more realistic looking image itself? And the answer to that question is a resounding yep, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So now I'm in the Heretic image viewer looking at a scanned PDF of a lease. You can see it's a pretty bad scan, and it also has some chicken scratch handwriting. And so if I go to the text, I can see that BX day of L2 man is not a thing. And so if I go back to the image, what I can do is select this, send a field, and then I get a nice confirmation showing me a cropped image of that selection where I can simply correct the text. And then I can click on my effective date field. Of course, it could be the case that your extracted text is just fine, in which case you simply select text, send a field, ignore the confirmation slide out, and then click the field you'd like to send to. And the last thing I wanted to show was that with a little bit of configuration, you can make send a field even easier for your reviewers. For this example, let's say I have a governing law data point that's hitting really well. In the left pane here, I can navigate, and let's just say that this governing law data point is consistently accurate. What I can do as a project manager is, before the review begins, I can link this data point to a field. So in the left pane here, I'll right-click, link to field. And in this case, I'm going to link to the governing law field. Once I click save, I'll see that there's now a linked icon on this governing law field. So as a reviewer, coming down and coding my fields, I come to the governing law field, I can simply hit the check mark, and in one click, I can populate this field and save its location in the contract. You know that old saying, 1 click is always better than 2 clicks? That's not really a saying, but that's how I'm going to end the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.